have said that the petition will not be lost. The court can still adjudicate the outcome of the parliamentary process. The three-judge bench noted that was made up by Eric Ogola, Frida Mugambi, and Anthony Mrima. It seems there was no overbearing from the three judges. Let it be concluded, then if need be, it can be dealt with later, is what they told Gachagua.
Yes, simply so because we have constitutional mandate to respect the various or respective arms of government, and the court's function in the impeachment process is purely to look at whether the processes comply with the regulations or the provisions of the Constitution. For example, if the law required that a particular process be undertaken, let's say, for example, the right to fair hearing, was there adequate participation of the accused person in presenting their case, then that can be challenge. Then, of course, we can also look at aspects such as was this person afforded a chance to present his evidence? Was this person afforded a chance to be represented by his own advocates? Then, of course, you are looking at, is the Senate compliant with its own standing orders? Have they breached their own standing orders? So basically, these are, and then did they the alleged offenses, did they meet a specific substratum of grounds of the threshold for that amounts now to grounds of gross misconduct, to grounds maybe of gross violation of the Constitution? Did they meet that threshold? Then, if that is the case, then the court now undertakes to listen to the questions relating to the procedure, and this is mostly by way of judicial review. So that now the question the court will be asking itself is whether there was any breach of reasonable care, there was breach of process, there was irrationality in the manner in which the process was conducted, there was bias. You know, that's another question the court can look into. So that now, at the end of the day, we are able to find solutions to afford the Kenyans. You know, Article 1, we talked about it this morning, that the sovereignty of the people are able to be convinced that this was a fairly just and equitable process.
And Wakili Dauri, it seems that the long-held view of the line between the arms of government and our dispensation, which are equal, is much respected in this regard, and therefore our conclusion of this process is what the court has rather directed the Deputy President's legal team to focus on, and then thereafter we deal with the consequences if there are grounds sufficient enough. You can argue before us.
Yeah, and I think the courts have got the right standard. When I was listening to your reporter covering this, it seems to suggest that there is a request to amend, and I can see why that request to amend is coming in, because in essence, I think what they are now trying to ask the court to do is to say that these proceedings, in the event that the Deputy President is impeached and there is nothing to stop the subsequent processes, the proceedings before court would essentially be rendered academic. Because even if the court were to determine the matter when there is already a Deputy President in office, and then the court were to find that the process of removal was contra-constitutional, then the remedies that may be available may not be very clear. And so I suspect that that is what they want to do. So the question that then we'll be looking at are two things. One, that the line of authorities and precedents that we have from court is that there is no personal interest in a public office. So that when we are analyzing a legal situation with a view to enforcing a right to occupy a certain public office, there is no such right. So that will be the first principle. And the second principle that perhaps the court then will be considering, or will weigh in the mind of the court, because the court cannot pronounce itself in a vacuum, because you can't expect the court to anticipate that Senate is going to impeach. But I'm just thinking that the other thing that will also weigh on the mind of the court would be, if you were to look at the public interest in having a deputy president who has been impeached staying in office on the basis of a court order, pending a resolution of that question, of whether it was proper or not, and the public interest of having a properly appointed deputy president in office. Because the one thing is this: the deputy president is the principal assistant to the president. He is the president designate in the event of a vacancy in the office of the president. So the court will be asking itself this question: what should we do? What is in the public interest? Because in the event there is a vacancy in the office of the presidency, there is a vacancy in the office of the deputy president, but by virtue of a court order, there is a deputy president sitting. But there is a finding of impeachment by a body properly constituted to make that finding, and it is before the court. And we see the court can determine that he was properly impeached. So if the court decides that he was properly impeached and there is a vacancy in the office, you see, when you look at all that, when you weigh the public interest, you almost feel that the court will be inclined towards giving any favor to the deputy president.
Thank you, Counsel Deuri and Esther Mushiri. Your time is all appreciated, and for being with us here since morning to look at this very critical matter at such a historic day when the Senate will be proceeding with the impeachment on the second leg of Rigathi Gachagua's impeachment motion that is seeking to remove him from office following his impeachment on Tuesday last week by the National Assembly. Our team will be keeping an eye on what will be happening at the Senate. Stephen Leto and Emmanuel To in that regard, while Melita Oletenges will be giving us the security brief of how that has been done across the roads that feed into the National Assembly and the Senate, as well as generally the heightened security around the presidents of Parliament. And we thank you for your time. Thanks as well to you too for waking up with us here on the broadcast. Up next is the Swahili team that will be taking over this special broadcast until the conclusion of the matter that will be happening before the Senate today. And I am Ayub Abdikadir Abdi. We'll see you tomorrow morning here at the same time here on the broadcast. Till then, good morning and have a lovely day.